Chapter 2172. Two supreme exalts had attacked at the same time. How could Yi Xian resist them? He couldn't resist them at all. Not to mention his current state, he wouldn't be able to resist them even if he was at his peak state. Right at this moment, a woman suddenly appeared in front of Yi Xian. It was Yang Yanxue. A wisp of ferocity flashed through Yang Yanxue's eyes. She opened her palm, and the sword palace suddenly transformed into a ray of light that shot forward. It exploded. The sword hall exploded apart while countless rays of light erupted like fireworks. Miss Shan and Mu Xian were blasted back by the rays of light, and Yi Xian and Yang Yanxue had vanished when they finally stopped moving. Mu Xian and Miss Shan's expressions became extremely unsightly when they witnessed this scene. Miss Shan stared fixedly at the scene in the distance. He can't be allowed to live. They were fearful of Yi Xian as well because he was able to fight an exalted realm expert at such a young age. So, how terrifying would he be if he was allowed to grow? Actually, both of them were slightly regretful right now. Why did we interfere in this matter? Or perhaps we could have done it in a different way. For example, we could have gotten a scapegoat to do it for us. Yet now, not only had they failed to kill him, they'd even formed an irreconcilable enmity with him. Miss Shan suddenly said, "He can't be allowed to live. Pursue him." As soon as he finished speaking, he charged forward. On the other hand, Mu Xian charged forward as well. The expression of the Celestial Treasure Pavilion's branch president, Yu Xian, instantly became unsightly when he saw Yi Xian and Yang Yanxue flee. Actually, he didn't want Yi Xian to flee as well. Yi Xian was an extraordinary VIP of the Celestial Treasure Pavilion. According to the rules set by the pavilion master, he should protect Yi Xian with all his might. However, he'd chosen to watch from the sidelines just now. If Yi Xian had been killed, then the pavilion master would definitely not pursue the matter any further. After all, it wasn't worth it for a dead person. But now Yi Xian had fled. The situation had changed again. After a long moment of silence, Yu Xian suddenly said, Wu, ask your men to track him down." He paused for a moment and added, "At all costs." He was talking about Yi Xian. The middle-aged man called a Wu spoke solemnly. Yu Xian said softly, "There's no way back. Once he dies, no one in this world will know that he is a distinguished guest of my Celestial Treasure Pavilion. Of course, if you find his whereabouts, don't make a move. Just contact Mu Xian and Supreme Mist Mountain and do them a favor." Wu fell silent for a moment, then he turned and left. In terms of intelligence, the Celestial Treasure Pavilion was incomparable to the other factions. In terms of intelligence, the Celestial Treasure Pavilion was incomparable to the major powers. Somewhere in the star field, Mu Xian and Lan Shan stopped. Their faces were extremely ugly. Wu and Wu Xian. Time to see. Their divine consciousnesses swept the surrounding star zones and the universe, but they did not find Yi Xian and Yang Yanxue. Lan Shan's face was extremely gloomy. How did they do it? Mu Xian shook his head. That woman possesses an extremely large number of mystical items. She's surely using some sort of divine item to conceal her aura. Lan Shan suddenly asked, "Who are these two people?" Both of them were stunned when they heard this. Who are they? They've overlooked this question. They're definitely not from the medium world. If they are, they would know. Supreme Xianyi should know. Lan Shan said. They glanced at each other and vanished. When they reappeared, they were in the sky above the Celestial Treasure Pavilion. Xianyi was still there. Mu Xian looked at him. "Supreme Xian, who's that young man?" Dao Xuanyi glanced at Mu Xian, then disappeared from the spot. Mu Xian frowned and looked at Lan Shan. "What does she mean?" "She's ignoring you," Lan Shan said. Mu Xian said solemnly, "We are helping her." Lan Shan shook his head. "It doesn't matter who he is. Since we attacked him, we've sowed karma. If we don't want him to take revenge on us in the future, then we should deal with him before he leaves the city." A trace of worry flashed in Mu Xian's eyes. "I'm worried that he has a powerful force behind him." Lan Shan furrowed his brows when he heard that. How could he not be worried? Meanwhile, Mu Xian shook his head. "Let's not think about that. Since we've sowed karma, then let's face it calmly. What's there to be afraid of?" He roared with laughter. "Why should we fear anyone when our sects join forces?" Hearing this, Lan Shan nodded. "Indeed." Mu Xian said, "Our top priority now is to find those two and kill them." As soon as he finished speaking, he and Lan Shan vanished on the spot. The 9th floor of the Celestial Treasure Pavilion. Actually, no one had expected that Yang Yanxue didn't flee with Yi Xian. Instead, she brought Yi Xian to the 9th floor of the Celestial Treasure Pavilion. the pavilion that belonged to the pavilion master. The most dangerous place was the safest. Of course, she'd used a divine object to conceal her and Yi Xian's auras. After Yang Yanxue entered the 9th floor with Yi Xian on her back, she glanced at the surroundings casually, and then placed Yi Xian on the ground. At this moment Yi Xian's soul was still very weak. Yang Yanxue looked at Yi Xian. Yi Xian was still exuding a terrifying murderous intent and evil aura. However, this murderous intent and evil aura were all suppressed by a tree core. The divine tree of life's tree core. She'd obtained it from an old man with a bamboo chest. It was capable of suppressing many evil existences. The killing intent and vicious aura belonged to the category of evil. Because of the divine tree of life's tree core, Yi Xian's mind was gradually returning to normal. After a long time Yi Xian slowly opened his eyes. Yang Yanxue asked softly, "Are you okay?" A trace of confusion flashed in Yi Xian's eyes. After a long time he said softly, "Soul is gone." Soul. He just tried to contact Soul, but Soul had vanished completely. Yang Yanxue fell silent. She knew that Soul had followed Yi Xian for so many years, so their feelings for each other were definitely very deep. Yang Yanxue sighed softly. She hadn't expected that things would develop to this extent. She'd always thought that Tianming would intervene, but this time he didn't. Did something happen to him? A trace of doubt arose in Yang Yanxue's heart. Meanwhile Yi Xian suddenly said, "Xiao Ta." As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Ta appeared in front of him, and Yi Xian directly entered Xiao Ta's body. Healing. Reconstructing his body. Yang Yanxue walked to the window and looked down. At this moment, experts from the two sects were flying through the city from time to time. She knew that the two superpowers, the Cloud God sect and Tianyi sect, were madly searching for her and Yi Xian. Besides that, the members of the Celestial Treasure Pavilion's branch had been mobilized as well. Their targets were her and Yi Xian. Yang Yanxue frowned. Wasn't little brother a super VIP of the Celestial Treasure Pavilion? Is this super VIP really that low in status? As if she'd thought of something, Yang Yanxue suddenly turned to look at her surroundings. The 9th floor wasn't very spacious, but it was very elegant. There was a long table and a chair not too far away from her, and there was a bookshelf on the other side. Besides that, there was nothing else in the room. The Pavilion Master. She was quite curious about the Pavilion Master as well. After all, the Celestial Treasure Pavilion's business wasn't ordinary, and it had businesses throughout the universe. Yang Yanxue walked slowly to the bookshelf and picked up an ancient book. However, she'd never seen the words written on it. "It's not from this world?" Yang Yanxue frowned. She flipped through some more books, but they were all unfamiliar words. Yang Yanxue placed the book back on the bookshelf and walked slowly to the table. There was an ancient book on the table, and she understood the words written on it. Yang Yanxue picked up the ancient book and saw 3 words: Theory of the Universe. Beside the book was a pen. However, this pen was different from the pens in this world. It was rather short, and the tip of the pen was very, very sharp like a needle. A trace of surprise flashed in Yang Yanshua's eyes. "This pen is quite unique." As she spoke, she flipped open the first page of the Theory of the Universe and read softly, "What is the universe? It is the general term for all space, time, and matter." Seeing this, Yang Yanxue was silent for a moment before flipping to the second page. Space is boundless, time is boundless, and matter is boundless. When the three combine, it becomes the universe in the Great Tao. It's completely possible to cultivate the way of godhood with science. Yang Yanxue hurriedly flipped to the next page. When she flipped to the next page, she was immediately stunned. There was a line of words on it. "Sister, it's not good to barge into someone else's study without the owner's permission and peek at their books." Yang Yanshua's eyes were filled with disbelief. The other party actually knew that someone was here to peek? Yang Yanxue flipped to another page. "Still want to read? Hee, I won't let you read it." Yang Yanxue continued to flip. "You really want to read it? If you answer correctly, I'll show you the secret code." Yang Yanxue flipped to another page. "The Heavenly King covers the Earth Tiger." Yang Yanshue's expression froze. "What secret code is this?" She flipped to another page, but it was completely blank. There was nothing at all. Yang Yanxue closed the ancient book and fell silent. She had to admit that she was slightly shocked at this moment. She suddenly realized that she seemed to have underestimated this mysterious master of the Celestial Treasure Pavilion. What exactly is his background? At this moment, Yang Yanxue suddenly turned around. There was a black box on the side of the study table. Yang Yanxue originally wanted to open it, but she seemed to have thought of something and stopped. Her actions just now were slightly offensive. A short moment later, Yang Yinxue placed the box back to its original position, and then she placed the ancient book back to its original position. She glanced at the surroundings and a trace of complicated emotions flashed through her eyes. This pavilion master isn't simple at all. Without thinking too much, Yang Yinxue was about to enter the xiaota. At this moment, Yi Xian walked out from the xiaota. At this moment, his physical body had completely recovered. Not only had his physical body recovered, but his soul had also recovered. After all, the flow of time in the xiaota was different from the outside world. Yang Yinxue asked softly, "You're done?" Yi Xian nodded. Yang Yinxue said, "Then let's go." Yang Yinxue suddenly looked around and walked to the bookshelf. He glanced at it and frowned slightly. He couldn't understand it. Yang Yinxue was about to say something when Yi Xian suddenly waved his right hand and moved the entire bookshelf into the xiaota. Then he walked to the study table and moved the table and chair into the xiaota as well. Yang Yinxue's face darkened. "Brother, this isn't good." Yi Xian's face was expressionless. "I have the Shantian token, so I can take anything in the Celestial Treasure Pavilion." Yang Yinxue was speechless. Everything in the world had karma. She didn't know if it was a good or bad karma. Chapter 2173. On the 9th floor, Yang Yinxue said in a low voice, "Brother, what are your plans?" Yi Xian was expressionless. "What plans can I have?" "Fight to the death, of course." Yang Yinxue wanted to say something but stopped. Yi Xian looked at Yang Yinxue. "Sister, you want to say that we can't beat that woman, right?" Yang Yinxue nodded. "That woman's strength is beyond our imagination. Moreover, the other two supremes are on her side. Not only that, the Celestial Treasure Pavilion seems to be on their side as well. The situation is very disadvantageous for us." As she spoke, she paused for a moment before continuing, "What I mean is, we have to temporarily avoid the brunt of the attack." Yi Xian was silent. He naturally understood Yang Yinxue's meaning. The siblings were no match for that woman. If they went to look for her, they would be sending themselves to their deaths. Yang Yinxue continued, "We can go find Dad." Yi Xian shook his head. "I will take revenge myself." As he spoke, he opened his palm and small tower appeared in his hand. Yi Xian looked at Yang Yinxue. "Sister, you can hide our auras, right?" Yang Yinxue nodded, "But not for long." Yi Xian asked, "How long?" Yang Yinxue said in a low voice, "I mean, I'm afraid they will use some secret technique to find us." Yi Xian was silent for a moment, then he entered xiaota. What he needed now was time. Yi Xian came to a mountain peak and he looked into the distance, his eyes a little dazed. When he fought with Dao Xian, not only did he ignite his bloodline, but he also ignited his soul. In the end, Xiao Hun even let him devour it, but he still couldn't beat his opponent. This was the most despair he had ever felt. Xiao Hun. Yi Xian slowly closed his eyes. At this moment, his heart was still bleeding. At the same time, the bloodline in his body suddenly trembled, about to explode. Yang Yinxue appeared beside Yi Xian. She looked at Yi Xian. "Control your bloodline. The current you doesn't need to go crazy, you need to calm down unless you want to call for help." Call for help. These two words were like a needle stabbing into Yi Xian's heart. He didn't know when it started, but whenever he ran into trouble, Qing'er would always lend a helping hand. Over time he became more and more fearless. Because he was fearless, he became more and more flashy. This time, however, Qing'er didn't make a move. This was the first time he tasted despair. True despair. Even if he risked his life, he still couldn't change the outcome. This was how cruel the world was. Most of the time, you wouldn't necessarily get a satisfactory result just because you worked hard and risked your life. Yi Xian clenched his fists and forced himself to calm down. Anger was a sign of incompetence. Only an incompetent person would do something as meaningless as anger. After a long time, Yi Xian's blood gradually calmed down. Yang Yinxue's heart ached as she looked at Yi Xian. In the next moment, their figures instantly became illusory. Meanwhile, Yi Xian had appeared here, and his eyes were blood-red like an ocean of blood. Alan gazed at Yi Xian, who stood nearby, and ridiculed. "If you have the balls, then come to the spirit demon dimension and save them." As soon as she finished speaking, the three of them vanished completely. Yi Xian suddenly roared furiously, "Li Sheng!" As soon as his voice resounded, Li Sheng appeared in front of Yi Xian. Li Sheng was shocked when he saw Yi Xian, who seemed like he was covered in blood. What's going on? Yi Xian stared at Li Sheng, and his voice didn't carry a trace of emotion. How do we get to the spirit demon dimension? Li Sheng hesitated for a moment and said, Young Master Yi, why are you asking this? The spirit demon dimension isn't simple. That place. This. A sword suddenly pierced through the center of Li Sheng's forehead. Yi Xian suddenly grabbed Li Sheng's throat with his right hand, and then he slowly lifted Li Sheng up. His voice was ferocious like the roar of a wild beast. I'm asking you how to get there. I'm not asking you anything else, understand? Bang. In an instant, an ocean of blood surged in an area of 500,000 kilometers. Countless experts that were in deep slumber were jolted awake.